Hello YouTube, my name is Nick, and today I'm making my end of the year list for 2019. Sorry this is a little delayed. It's not really delayed because I didn't want to make it. I was actually waiting on a couple specific albums to get here, and I wanted to give myself enough time to digest those things, because they were important for the list. They are on the list. I'm doing 20 this year. I'm not doing 25 as I have done in the past. But I do have a couple honorable mentions to begin with here. These are all metal in some capacity, obviously. Try not to drag this out too long. I'm going to try to keep it straight to the point. Hopefully you can find something here that you didn't know about before. And I'm going to start with my favorite EP of the year. This is a band that if you've followed this channel at all, you'll know that I'm madly in love with. This is Malady with Symptoms 2. This is 100% certainly the strangest offering from Malady so far. There's a whole lot of different genres on this thing. It's relatively short. It's a little over 30 minutes. It's 4 songs. They have a Symptoms 1 EP that was like one big song, and this one's 4 separate tracks. There's some really avant-garde stuff. There's almost like a hip-hop moment on this album. It's just really incredible. Malady is one of my favorite bands, if not my favorite band in the world right now. They can do no wrong. The creative freedom that this band expresses is second to none. They don't answer to anybody. I'm glad they're with Apostasy. I wish they would get a little bit more love. I wish they'd get a little more merch or swag or something. But I don't know how popular Malady is, so that's probably a big reason why. But yeah, go check out Symptoms 2 if you want something pretty strange. This next one here is my favorite split of the year, and this one is on vinyl. I left this one in the jacket. I took all the other vinyl in the list out of their jackets, but I had to leave this one in for a very specific reason. This is Gloam and Black Fucking Cancer with, I believe it's just called that. No, it's called Boundless Arcane Invocations. I don't really look at the titles that much. Sorry this is so dark. Black and gold don't really show up well. Album artwork is insanely good. I left this in the jacket because this doesn't actually have a container. It's just a little paper sleeve that the vinyl is housed in. So it just like, it opens up and then there's a sleeve in here. So there's no real jacket. It's just like the lyric sheet and like band info sandwiches the vinyl in the sleeve itself. So Gloam and Black Fucking Cancer are extremely evil, necrotic, blackened, doomy, kind of just cancer noise bands. I have most of Gloam's discography. I have everything that Black Fucking Cancer has done, including the band that came before them. I'm a ginormous supporter of these guys. Just unmatched, evil, sinister, horrible music. Not for the faint of heart. Each song on here, there's only one song from each band, and each one is about 15-20 minutes. So this is a pretty sizable split. It does come on one vinyl, black vinyl. Can't say enough good things about this. I'm pretty sure this is still available. It also comes with a download code, but you know. So here's Gloam side, the other side is Black Fucking Cancer. Great stuff. Just, I listen to this all the time. I haven't spun the vinyl much, but I listen to that at work a lot, and it's pretty motivating. So yeah, go check that out. Everything will be in the description as always. Last shout out here, until we get to the real list here. This is my breakout band of the year. I believe I have mentioned this band before with their previous EP, but this album is kind of launching them into the stratosphere. This is Shrine of Malice with Shoal. I don't think this is, in my opinion, I don't think this is strong enough to be on my list, but this band has infinity potential. Like, this is such a higher class above the previous EP that I've talked about, and the vocalist is becoming quite a known name these days. He's doing his own vocal classes. He's hitting stuff on the ground here. Go check that band out if you like blackened deathcore. It's really good, but I don't think it's quite there yet. And that's just my 2 cents on that. So we're going to get into the list here. We're going to start with number 20. This is a band I hold high in regard. This is one of my favorite bands, released one of my probably top 5 favorite albums ever. It's hard to follow up something like that, so I didn't necessarily love their last album, but this album is a great return to form. This is Plateau Sigma with Symbols, the sleeping harmony of the world below. Really nice, quaint artwork here. Very minimalist, kind of aloof. Plateau Sigma play kind of a really atmospheric, almost kind of post-rocky doom, funeral doom mix. Death, funeral doom, somewhere in between there. They add a lot of really unique atmosphere, and that's where I believe they succeed the best, and that's why I hold their debut album in such high regard, because it was the perfect blend of funeral doom and also really spacey, emotional music. So yeah, Symbols by Plateau Sigma, number 20. Okay, sorry, got a little lost there. Number 19. I have the vinyl on the ground over here next to me. Sorry if I keep leaning over. Number 20. Flesh God Apocalypse with Veleno. Flesh God Apocalypse is a very polarizing band. There's a lot of people who think they're kind of garbage. There's the inside of the jacket. And there's a whole lot of people like me who really like a lot of their discography, but I think most of us can agree that some of it is not that good. I believe this is the best album since Oracles. Most people don't like Labyrinth. Some people liked King, but I believe this is where the fans can kind of agree. This is a better than decent album. And here's the vinyl. Really nice, delicious green and black. Francisco Paoli's back on vocals. I don't believe he's doing any kind of drums for this, which is a crying shame. He's one of my favorite drummers ever. But go check out Veleno if you have any interest in Flesh God at all and you haven't heard this for some reason. It is a very worthy album in their discography, so go check out Veleno. This next one is a genre that most people don't really enjoy, but I listen to more of it than the average metal listener. This is Eyeless Sight. Sorry, this is number 18 with Eyeless Sight with Athazagagoraphobia. Excuse my mental diarrhea there. So, Eyeless Sight is kind of somewhere in between atmospheric black metal and DSBM. This is one of the most complete DSBM albums I've ever heard. I believe it's their debut. It has like a really pretty blue cover. I'm not even going to try to say it because I believe it's in Italian. It's like 1,000,000 words. But that's one of, if not my favorite DSBM albums ever. And this is very, very close to that. This has every aspect of DSBM that I love put into a package that actually has a good production, good songwriting, and an attention to detail that very few DSBM albums or bands ever hope to achieve with the project. So if you have any mild interest in this band, or the genre as a whole, do yourself a favor and go check this out. It's pretty lengthy. It's a little under an hour, but it'll be well worth your time. Extremely gorgeous guitar tone. I forget her name, but she's in Black Whispers, another DSBM album or band I really like. Go check out Eyeless Sight. I can't recommend this band enough. It is a very good gateway into DSBM if you have any interest in that. So yeah, Athazagagoraphobia by Eyeless Sight is number 18. Number 17. This is one that everyone should know. This is one that everyone has probably heard. But I really enjoy this album. This is Demon by Mayhem. Or Damon. Matt Damon. So this is the special media book version. Comes with a couple bonus songs. This album has a very strange phenomena that I come across every once in a while. This album's almost an hour long, and every single time I listen to this, it feels like it's 20 minutes long. I put it on, and I just kind of relax and listen to it, and it feels like it's over in a blink of an eye. And I'm not really sure why. It's very enjoyable. It's a definite return to form, an old throwback Mayhem album. Really enjoy the artwork. Really enjoy the vocals from Attila. He's definitely the premier Mayhem vocalist in my opinion. For sure my favorite. So yeah, I'm not going to say too much about this. Extremely well-known band, big label, big album. Go check out Mayhem. Number 17 was Damon by Mayhem. Number 16. This one, this was kind of one that was on I was waiting for it to come in before I did this video. This is one of them. This is Enraged and Unbound by Unfathomable Ruination with number 16. I really love their first album. One of the most disgustingly brutal, horrific albums I've ever heard. Daniel Niego used to be the vocalist on that album. That album got me into this band, and then they released Finitude, which was very good, but not as good in my opinion. But this album shows them going in the direction that they belong to be going. This is extremely fast, brutal, unrelenting, just ridiculously fast, infinite stamina from all of the musicians here. Just an embarrassment of riches when it comes to technical brutal death metal. Super brutal, super catchy. There's a couple moments on this album where, like, they do a really nasty riff, and then they bring that really nasty riff slowed down, like, by 4 times, and it just makes the pit of your stomach just drop into your butt. Great album, so much fun to listen to. That was released on Willowtip, so go check out Unfathomable Ruination, Finitude. Number 15. This is a band that I really support, and a guy I really support. This is Existential Disconnect by Ectomy. Another extremely brutal album. The production on this is so stupid thick, so stupid heavy, unnecessarily heavy, and that's the way that I like my brutal death metal and slam. This isn't necessarily like vanilla slam. This is much more brutal death metal with slams in it, and there's also a good deal of technicality in this as well. Very standard for something that would be released on Unique Leader. I love the label. I love most of the things that they put out. This is one of the best things that they've released this year. Love the artwork, the whole package. The vocalist is also the vocalist for Rendered Helpless. Extremely good, brutal death metal band. Can't get enough of these guys. They have a great work ethic. They're releasing stuff all the time. They don't take time off. Just great stuff. I mean, how can you not love that artwork? Hopefully the lighting's alright. So yeah, there's number 15, Organectomy with Existential Disconnect. Number 14. This is an album that I originally didn't really enjoy, but every single time I listen to this, I enjoy it a huge amount more. And I don't really know where that ceiling is. I feel like if I listen to this album 20 more times, it could be way higher on the list. But I listened to this a bunch already, and I thought this was a decent place to put this. But this is Serpents with Temet Nosh. We're going to go with that. So their profile on Metal Archives kind of says it's like a symphonic deathcore band, I believe. This album has literally 0% to do with deathcore, if that's what turns you off. This is an extremely classy, symphonic, almost like extreme metal album. Very different from their past work, in my opinion. There's nothing on here that's really gonna blow your mind. There's nothing so far out there that it's gonna change the world. But what this album has that most albums don't have is true, real songwriting and real lyricism. The lyrics on this album blow my mind. Like, every time I listen to this, I get the chills. There's moments on this album where there's some spoken word that's just jaw-dropping, and the moments that this album is able to build with a relatively short amount of time. This album's really only like 37 minutes long, because there's track 4 is just like a noise track, which I don't really like noise. I'm just gonna be honest, I usually skip it. But everything else on this album is so insanely well done, and I cannot recommend this enough. This is a sleeper album. I don't really see a whole lot of people talking about this band. So go check out Serpents. It's number 14 with Temet Nosh. Something like that. Alright, number 13. Going down to the vinyl stack. This is one I never really thought would exist, and I'm surprised I liked it as much as I did. This was an insanely good album. This is Nocturnus AD with Paradox. Extremely famous old school death metal band. Also one of the very best artworks this year. If you know Nocturnus, you know their swan song was back in the early 90s with The Key. And this is essentially a spiritual successor to The Key. Very similar artwork style. Very similar production. This album feels old, but it doesn't have any of the old anchors that it used to have. Not to say that The Key is bad, but I like this just as much as The Key. This is an amazing album. Really great vocal style, really recognizable. The solos on this album are straight from the early 90s. It sounds amazing. Super complex songwriting going on here. Just almost unfair how much talent is on this album, and how well it's held up for like the almost 30 years that it took to make a real sequel to that album. Just an unbelievable sequence of events had to happen for this album to come out. I got the colored vinyl version. Blue, white, green, kind of dark blue. Sorry the lighting is a little funky. This is the best I can do under the circumstances. But yeah, go check out The Key. This is number 13 on my list. Number 12. This was a very strange album. This was my introduction to the band. This is Funereal Presence with Acadius for number 12. This is one of those albums that is very hard to describe using words. This is kind of really out there, kind of semi-experimental black metal with a lot of really spooky and dark and horrific themes and musical styles. It's really undulating. It's unorthodox, to say the least. I can't really explain why I love this so much. I'm sure someone has put out a good piece about this somewhere. But there's just something about it that's alluring, and how genuinely weird it is. It's very ambitious, to say the least. So, number 12, Funereal Presence with Achadius, or Achadius, whatever you want to say. Number 11, this was possibly the most surprising of all of the albums on this list, because I honestly don't really enjoy this band. This is Devourment with Obscene Majesty. I really like old Devourment, but it's been many, many years since Devourment has made an album that caught my attention, and this is one of the dumbest albums I've ever heard. The production on this album just makes my whole body want to explode with fury and anger and raw emotion of how stupid heavy this dang album is. The vocals are absolutely unintelligible. The guitars are so low that it's very hard to make anything out with fine detail. This is just another an embarrassment of riches when it comes to brutality. I did not expect to like this as much as I did. There's so many fantastic moments on this. I listened to this over and over and over again when I first got it. Did not expect to like it as much as I did. But bravo to Devourment for making an album like this so late in their career. We have the OG vocalist back. Sorry, a little gassy. So yeah, Devourment, big band, big label. Good on them for doing this. I really enjoyed that album. So number 11, Devourment with Obscene Majesty. Number 10, this is the album I was waiting on to get here before I did my list. This took a little while to get here, but it's understandable. This is Order of Riven Cathedrals with Thermonuclear Scriptures Blackness. This is somewhere in between a technical brutal death metal album and like a symphonic death metal album with a little bit of electronica and like power electronic moments that happen in between some of the chaos. This is a very well done album. This, I want to say this is one person, one or two people. I'm pretty sure it's one person. But these guys are from Italy. Great production. It's not too clean, it's not too dirty, it doesn't sound too muddled or too independent where they don't have the budget to have a good production. Great, very repeatable album. It's not super long, it's not super short. I have all of these guys' material now. It's just a very unique sounding album. And this is almost what I wish Flesh God Apocalypse would have done with their direction. This is really dark. This is very technical and brutal, with a light seasoning of symphonic and electronic elements. Just insane. It's hard to imagine people who are so talented. And that was number 10, Order of Riven Cathedrals with Thermonuclear Scriptures Blackness. Number 9. This is a band I've talked about ad nauseum here recently. I've fallen madly in love with this band. This is Ectomy with the I know it's on here somewhere. Yeah, the Telluric Ashes of the Overth Immemorial Gods. Sorry if I'm pronouncing some things Anglo-Saxonized. Ectomy is an extremely promising new ridiculous black and death metal band. All of the albums are extremely long. This album is like 70 plus minutes long. I don't know if this is my favorite album by theirs. I think their third album, I mean, is my favorite. This is the fourth full length in 3 years, I want to say. Just pumping them out. Absolutely ridiculous artwork. I'm in love with this kind of stuff. Just no idea what's going on here, but it looks great. I believe this is on red vinyl. But they play a very evil, dark, but also, I don't know if I want to say technical, but very proficient style of music. Like, he's very, very talented when it comes to every instrument that's on here. And another one of those bands that everyone should know how talented this dude is. Go check out Esoctrillium. I've talked about these guys a lot recently. It's number 9 on my list, so go check them out. Number 8 is another one I talked about a little bit. This is one that I was very highly praising. It came out pretty early in the year. This is Demiurges by Equipoise. Probably the most ridiculous tech death album ever made. Not to say that it's 100% the best, not saying that it's bad either, but it's hard to imagine another album that I can think of that has more notes from instruments than this album, at least metal-wise, unless you're playing with like a huge orchestra that has like 50 musicians. Like, it is absolutely insane what is accomplished on this album. Tons of musicians, tons of guest spots, just an absolutely ridiculously ambitious album. It's very long, it's over an hour long, double vinyl, it's not a gatefold. Artwork is pretty cool. I believe this is a Full Metal Alchemist themed kind of band, but great album. Just, it doesn't make any sense how this album actually came to fruition. There were so many things that could have gone wrong with this, so many people were involved with this, that it just seemed kind of like a pipe dream, and to actually have it and listen to it and enjoy it is kind of mind-blowing. This is one of those albums that's definitely has legendary status just for how out there it is. Alright, number 7. This is a band I've talked about a little bit in the past. This is Dead to a Dying World with Elegy for number 7. I have talked about this band a little bit. I really, really love this album. I know a lot of people were a little disappointed with this, which I could see why, but this is a little bit of a different direction for them. Very atmospheric, blackened, doom, crusty kind of stuff with a lot of tertiary instrumentation and kind of natural sounding vibes. Opens with a really, really chilling kind of, I don't know if I want to say like folk song, but it's not really folky. It's more of just like really big and chilling sounding. Something like that you'd hear in like a movie commercial, but really deep, emotional stuff. Can't recommend this enough. Released on Profound Lore, so you know it's getting a good treatment. Great production. I can't recommend this band enough, especially some of their past work. Not to say that this isn't good, but everything that they've ever done is just top of the food chain kind of emotional soundscapes. They make a really good scene with all of the instruments that are going on, and they have a couple different vocalists that come in and do a phenomenal job. So yeah, number 7, Dead to a Dying World with Elegy. Number 6. This album totally took me by surprise. I didn't know what to expect from this band. It's been a pretty good amount of time since they made an album. but I do love all of their work. This is Esoteric with a Pyrrhic Existence for number 6. This is one of the greatest Funeral Doom albums I have ever heard. And it's not just recency bias. I listen to a lot of Funeral Doom. One of my favorite genres. Sorry I'm saying so much. This has so many elements from so many different styles of Funeral Doom, because Funeral Doom is kind of a wide range. Like, there's a vanilla Funeral Doom, but most Funeral Doom bands have some exterior influences with them. This album is a little under 2 hours long. It's a double disc, 6 songs, the longest song being 27 minutes, almost 28 minutes. And they accomplish so many different things on this album. And I want to mention the second disc on this album is one of the most eclectic and, sorry I'm using the word so much, but ambitious sounding albums that I've heard from a Funeral Doom band. It's almost kind of psychedelic. It's kind of a little differently atmospheric than most Funeral Doom. It's really trancing, and it's almost like the visual or the auditory version of having a mental breakdown. It's really, really out there, and I love it to death. I've listened to this album way more times than I care to admit, considering how long it is. So yeah, go check out Esoteric, Pyrrhic Existence. This is probably my favorite album of theirs. I haven't listened to their old stuff in a long time, but just from memory, this is an astounding album. So yeah, number 6, A Pyrrhic Existence by Esoteric. Number 5. I didn't get on this hype train as soon as I should have, and I'm glad I was able to get one of these. This is The Body Cosmic by Pettis. This is a similar sounding kind of simile to Ne Obliviscaris. It's just the easiest thing to compare it to. It's not that this is like a ripoff of the band or anything. Very large and ambitious, creative, and also emotional styles of music. The first 2 songs are actually instrumentals, and they're both extremely long. This is a very, very long album if you're into stuff like that. I love long albums. Love the artwork as well. Very, very nice. I believe the drummer is also the drummer from Ne Obliviscaris. But what I could say differently about this band from them is this band is much more guitar oriented. But if you like more riffs, definitely give this a chance. Can't recommend this enough. Like, absolutely insane what they're able to muster up with an album like this. Just fabulous. Can't recommend this enough. I'm glad I finally listened to this. I saw a lot of people talking about this, and it took me a while to commit, but I'm glad I did. This next one is a very strange album. This is one that was recommended to me by a musician I highly respect, and I respect his opinion. He didn't recommend it to me personally, but I saw something he posted about it. But this is, it's kind of hard to explain what the name is. So it's, what most people think this is a No Evdia collaboration band. So it's NEDXXX. But this is about 25 to 27 minutes long, I can't remember. And this is some of the strangest goddamn music I've ever heard. This is black metal, but not really. But also might be like the future of black metal. This is one of the most awe-inspiring, that's what I'm looking for, performances from a number of musicians It's very secretive what's going on with this band, but there are some context clues we can use to see who's in this. Very, very strange, but also extremely technically proficient and just ridiculously groundbreaking. One of the most absurd albums probably ever made, considering how short it is. There's a lot of samples on here, a lot of spoken word. I don't know where they come from, but the guitars and the drums on this album are what make this so special. This is some of the most complex compositions I have ever heard, and I've listened to a lot of bullcrap. This is something special. So go check out No Evdia XXX. That's how I'm going to refer to it. For number 4. I'll leave everything in the description as always. So these last 3 albums I have been switching in and out as my album of the year. This has been the hardest album of the year video for me to make. This is the only time that I've ever made one of these videos where I didn't go in knowing what my album of the year was. It's usually pretty obvious, but this one just ended up at the bottom of the 3, and I love all of these just about equally, and no love lost for any of these. But this is number 3, Sulphur English by Inter Arma. I really need to get the vinyl for this. I have all their other vinyl. This is such an enormous step up for the band, considering how good their past material is. It doesn't even make sense how fluid and how perfectly seamless this band can transition from certain genres to another. This is one of those bands that is extremely underrated, and one of those bands that is eventually going to enter legendary status, in my opinion. I would love to see these guys live. I bet it's a hoot. Very strange to describe what kind of genre this band plays. It's almost like black metal and doom metal and a little bit of like southern rock and a little bit of folky stuff and also some funeral doom. There's all kinds of stuff on this album, and I would like to point out, the further that this album goes along, the darker and the more horrific it goes on. The title track on this album is 100% the darkest song I've heard this year. Just absolutely chilling, horrible music that I just can't get enough of. This one was kind of slept on by me. I knew how much I liked it, but the more and more I listened to it, I'm just like, wow, this blows my mind. How can a band be this good? If you don't know Inter Arma, go check out their whole discography. They have 3 full lengths, I think, and a big EP. So yeah, number 3, Inter Arma with Sulphur English. Go check them out. So number 2, I don't know if this is going to be a surprise to anyone, but I thought this was going to be my album of the year until a couple days ago. Again, I love this as equally as Inter Arma and the other album I'm going to mention here, but someone had to win and someone had to lose. This is Infinite Annihilator with the Battle of Yaldabaoth. I am a huge, huge fanboy of Infinite Annihilator. Ever since I heard the Elysian Grandial Gallery arc, I immediately fell in love with the band. I do have their original album, and I'll show you the vinyl color here. I got the white and orange. The vinyl color sold out very quickly. I wanted the green one, but I got this one, and I'm pretty happy with that. Infinite Annihilator is a very influential but also polarizing band. For sure, one of the most ridiculous bands to ever be formed, to ever make albums. Dickie Allen is probably the greatest vocalist on planet Earth. This album cements that. The things that he's able to do just don't make sense and kind of confuse other vocalists at some points. There's a bunch of great guest appearances on this. This is just a celebration of ridiculous brutality and also technicality. Say what you will about the production, say what you will about the instrumentation. This album succeeds at everything that it tries to do. I don't know how this fares with their last album. I believe I like them about equal. This is a little different. This album is much heavier, much more riff focused. The production is much better on this album, but I believe the last album had better individual songs. This album has 14 songs on it. There's a bunch of really good ones, obviously. It's my number 2 of the year. But I feel like the last album just had better value per song, in my opinion. Not to say that this isn't good, because I've listened to this album second most this year, and my number 1 is the one I listened to the most this year. Can't get enough of this album. Songs like Three Bastards, very famous video at this point. Swinecologist is great. A Rape of Sirens. And Pusa, Queen of the Damned, my favorite song on this album. Then the title track and Necropolis. Just stupid, stupid album. Love it to death. Can't get enough of it. Can't wait for more material. Might be a while. Here's the inside of the jacket. Really highly detailed, brutal artwork. Love it. So yeah, Infinite Annihilator, number 2. Go check them out. You'll probably know if you hate them or not at this point. So yeah, that brings me to the number 1 this year. I saw these guys recently live with Shadow of Intent, Signs of the Swarm, and Brand of Sacrifice. I've listened to this album so many times, it's kind of unhealthy, and it never gets old. It still hasn't gotten old, it hasn't lost any of its luster, and seeing this band live definitely cements that this is my favorite album of the year. This is In Fury with The End of an Era Rebirth. This is like a re-recording of one of their old albums, and this album is so insanely catchy, so technical, so well written. The instrumentation on this album is almost second to none. 2 of the greatest guitarists to ever walk the face of the earth are on this album, and seeing them play songs live is just mind-blowing. I don't remember what color I got, but the Artisan Era does like named colors. I don't remember what name this was, but it's kind of hard to describe how catchy this album is. Like songs like The Ruin of Mankind, even just an intro track has a bunch of really cool, catchy riffs. A New Breed of Savior, it's probably my favorite song of the year. I've listened to that song so many goddamn times. Endless Siege is super brutal. The War Machine Embodiment, really kind of out there kind of stuff. Absolutely phenomenal artwork. I'm wearing, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'm actually wearing an Fairy jacket right now. I bought this at the concert. I didn't know I was going to like this that much, but the more and more I listen to this, it's just like, this is it. This is the one. And I don't regret any of my decisions here. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it wasn't too long. Hopefully I can get this edited in a good amount of time. And I appreciate you watching this. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Let me know what kind of things were on your list. Hopefully this didn't drag on too long. I'll leave everything in the description as always. Go check out any of these bands that you didn't know before. And hopefully you enjoyed this. I'll be making videos again here pretty regularly. Just getting back into the swing of things. So I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time. Mwah.